that analysis piece. And again, don't be frustrated. It was a crazy couple of years. So even if you find that, business lost money last year, or business lost money for the last 2 years, that's okay, right? A lot of this is today is a brand new day, right? Like last year was last year, but for most of you, you're starting the year with a healthy cash balance and your business is here, right? You made it, which is incredible if you think of how much you overcame just to keep the doors open. But what we want to do is kind of have that today is a brand new day approach to say, okay, last year was what it was, but I'm going to be cash flow positive this year, regardless of what happens outside of my four walls, right? Like I can't control all of that, but I can control if I'm cash flow positive. So I want to use this time to build good habits as we go into 2022. So what that means is I'm going to take that same example of my prior year loss, right? Because there was loss on my P&L, but now I want to really set good projections for this year because I don't want to have a loss again, right? I knew last year was what it was. For a lot of you, especially if you're in the Northeast or you're in California, 6 months of your last year were still pretty shut down. But this year, things are different, right? We want to make sure that we have good projections. So part of my projection might say, well, realistically, my 22 sales should be higher than that, right? Because I wasn't open all year or people are back sitting at my bar again. So I'm going to have that as my projection on the sales side. But then I do have my cost of goods. Now, again, I might see that it's spiking in certain areas, but that just might mean I need to pay more attention, right? I need to look at the items that I have a better margin on and really promote those, right? Not saying no to people who buy chicken wings, but maybe they want to buy pizza instead, right? Because there's a big difference in my cost between my pizza and my chicken wings. And same on my payroll, right? Last year might have been crazy payroll because I was trying to use up a PPP and I just needed to put people on payroll for the ERTC credit and all of that. But this year's different, right? Like this year I need to go back to running an efficient payroll. And I want to really dig in there because I know that I might be paying people more than last year, but I really want to make sure that the numbers still work. And so I'm not, hurting my business, but I have a labor that's sustainable. And then operating costs, again, we might see that some of those are going up. So we want to be realistic there. This is the starting point. Again, we probably could build a full budget line by line. But as a starting point, what I want to say is, okay, if I do all these things, what is my realistic bottom line based on sales amount? So if I say my sales are going to be, 1.3, almost 1.4, then probably realistic to say my bottom line should at least be 55,000, right? And again, kind of rough numbers, but that gives me a good target. I'm not being, pie in the sky, but I'm saying I should at least expect to get 55,000 off of 1.3 in sales. Okay, so if that's the case, then I want to bring that out to my cash flow projection to say, what does that change in cash? Now, again, we know there are always going to be other things that we don't see on our P&L. Welcome to the world of accounting. I don't know why they made it difficult, but they did, right? And that's okay. But because of that, I can't end my P&L at zero, right? Because I know there's going to be other things that I need to pay for that, from a cash flow perspective, maybe they're good things, but I want to plan for those with my bottom line. So if my bottom line is 55,000, what are some of those other things that I know are going to happen next year in 2022? And the big one would be looking at your debt service, right? Looking at what you pay monthly, whether it's an S loan, the EIDL loans, car loans, anything like that. Those, keeping in mind that those do not show up on your P&L, though. P&L only shows the interest portion, which is a smaller of the two portions of those payments. But for cash flow, we want to include the full payment. So in this case, maybe my debt service that I paid last year wasn't paying down debt. Maybe that's just the monthly cost of my debt, right? So if that's the case, then I need to plan for that with my 55,000. So if my net income is 55,000, by the time I pay down those monthly payments,